Good to see all of you, and thank you for all your hard work on your literary analysis work thus far. The outlines look good. You're going to be getting feedback from me on those if you haven't received it already. Look for that probably later today, Tuesday or Wednesday at the latest. But this week I want to focus on our body paragraphs. I want to eventually come back and we'll talk about introductions and conclusions, but I want this week to really be dedicated to trying to write at least 2 body paragraphs, maybe even the third one this week. And that way next week we can worry about those intros and conclusions. But we want to really take our time and make sure that we can do at least one of these really, really well. And so you're going to submit at least 1 body paragraph by the end of the week for a little bit of review from me. And then eventually we'll talk about where we want to move forward from there. So there are a lot of great ways to write these body paragraphs for lit analysis. But I want to show you how to use that 2-tier model that we've been working with a little bit, as that might be a good place to start, just knowing that we're doing some online learning here. So I'm going to shrink myself down here. All right. So here is the sample paragraph that went out to you. If you have not taken time yet to actually read through this, please pause the video and give that a good read through. And as you do, pay attention to that claim. Just like you all were asked to do, I made sure that Harper Lee, the author, was at the core of my claim. That's going to be really, really important. The core of lit analysis is the idea of that Aunt Alexandra, not real, Atticus, not real, but who is real is Harper Lee, who created these rich characters for us to take a look at. So we're really analyzing her choices when we do a lit analysis, what it is that she was trying to do. So we're putting everything on the author. So I did that in the claim, and I tried to do that within this body paragraph. So again, if you haven't read through it, hit the pause button, give it a quick read. All right. So what I want to do for today is I want to take a look at how I tried to use that tier structure, or the 2-tier structure, to go ahead and walk my reader through this paragraph. Now, remember, my goal is not to summarize. I'm analyzing, right? Don't summarize. We want to analyze. And the way to do that is to put it on what it is that Harper Lee was trying to do and why she was trying to do that. So let's go ahead and take a look at how that was structured. And to do it, actually, I'm going to go ahead and head to the next page here for kind of a color-coded version. As of right now, it's not color-coded. We're going to do that together right now. So as a reminder for that 2-tier structure, the first T, topic sentence, I is to introduce the evidence. We want to provide a little bit of context, what's going on in the story. This is the closest to summary we're going to get, but you'll notice it's not a huge section. It's just so we can create a little bit of context and we can help our reader navigate this 31-chapter book. The E for evidence, that's directly from the text. That could be something that Scout, as the narrator, as an adult narrator, gives us. It could be something that a character says, or it could be something that a character says about another character. So anything in the book works for that. And then R, that's the most important. That should be our dominant color because it's our dominant section. It's the reasoning for how or why the evidence supports that topic sentence. And you'll also notice that in this reasoning section, that's where we're going to talk about Harper Lee. Because again, we're analyzing why she created these moments for us as readers. So as we take a look at our paragraph that, again, you should have already read through, our topic sentence here lets us know that one example that I'm going to hold up for this essay is the time that they visit Finch's Landing. Now, my other paragraphs are going to be about totally different moments. I'm going to talk about when Aunt Alexandra comes to move in and how that complicates things as far as kind of race relations. And then I'm also going to talk about, in another one of my paragraphs, how when she moves in, kind of the gender norms, the gender roles that she really wants to hang on to and how that clashes with Scout in the way that Atticus has raised his daughter. So those are going to be later paragraphs. This is just going to be the one kind of key moment that she gives us, one of the key moments, I should say, that help us understand this clash between, going back up to our claim, Aunt Alexandra's traditional Southern values and how those clash with Atticus's vision. So everything comes back to the claim. What's one moment that demonstrates that claim? In this case, it's their trip to Finch's Landing. So that's exactly what I do here in my topic sentence. This is the one moment that I want to come back to. So this paragraph, all about Finch's Landing, but my entire essay will cover a majority of the book, which is going to look at that clash overall. Finch's Landing. It's also going to talk about when she moves in, how they talk about the Tom Robinson trial, and it will also talk about kind of the gender norms that she tries to put in place. But those latter two, not apparent in this paragraph. This is all about Finch's Landing. So I want to skip the I really quickly, that intro, because I want to just take a look really quickly here at the evidence. And then we'll kind of come back and talk about this. So this is directly from the text, and you'll notice this is not anything that a character said. This is Scout as an adult narrator telling us a little bit about Finch's Landing. I also want to zoom in really quickly here. You'll notice I used kind of a ... here. This was a really long quote, and there's some things in there that I just didn't feel were crucial for this particular paragraph. Important in the whole book, but not for what I'm trying to prove here. So I skipped some things, so I just hit ... But you'll notice this still reads like one regular sentence. That the landing consisted of 366 steps down a high bluff. Beyond the bluff were traces of an old cotton landing where Finch Negroes had loaded bales in produce. Okay, so directly from the text, I skipped a little bit, no big deal, because what I really wanted to focus on, what I thought was really important, was actually here at the end. So I just kind of wanted to get to that. We'll get there in a moment. As we kind of zoom back out just a smidge here. So how did I end up introducing this particular evidence? Sorry, let me get that right color coding. There we go. All right, so how did I end up introducing this evidence? Well, notice, if I delete this, right, what is it that we're missing out on? We go from one of the clearest moments Harper Lee gives readers to see the clash is when Atticus and the kids visit Finch's Landing. 360 steps. Whoa. Doesn't make much sense, right? Like, we've got to set that scene. So that's exactly what I tried to do here. I establish who's talking. Scout, as the narrator, tells the reader about the history of the landing, which consisted of. So not only am I talking, or am I establishing who's talking here, but I also have this little lead-in in which I can blend that right on in. So a couple little small moves that I made here. One, once again, establish who's speaking, even if it's just the narrator. And then two, have this lead-in of the landing, which consisted of 366 steps. Boom, as if I was kind of using my own words there. But I pulled something from the book. I just want to make sure that blends right in, avoiding those quote bombs. However, if we delete this again, this is an absolute quote bomb. Boom. Because it feels like we just dropped something there, and it doesn't make much sense. Even if we said, like, Scout says, well, even that doesn't make much sense. We still need that context. So that is the intro. So we've got our T, we've got our I, we've got our E, but here's our R. Why did Harper Lee kind of tell us that there was traces of an old cotton landing where Finch Negroes had loaded bales in produce? That's what seemed most important to me. So here, Scout implies that this is an old plantation. So notice that focus. Boom. Harper Lee, we've got our author, is clearly rooting this place in the Old South. So here is why she's doing it, right? We've been talking about putting it on the author and explaining why she's doing certain things. Here is my why. This was not a progressive place in terms of race relations, so Atticus traveling there feels like he's traveling back in time. This is all focused on why it is that Harper Lee gives us this particular moment. So we've got our T-I-E-R. This is going to be the most important color because it's the most important section, and you'll notice Harper Lee is right in there. Now, I don't just want to say that it is an old place in the Deep South. That's not quite enough. So I want to make sure I have another moment, because 2 or more moments shows a pattern. So I transition and I say, okay, so it's not just the place that's a clash, but also that it happens physically. I've got a transition word of however, so I'm going to just count that as my kind of transitional phrase here. So T-I-E-R, and now T-I-E-R again, our 2-tier structure. I've got my evidence here. of what Frances says. So if I don't have this section, we don't know who's talking. We don't know why he's talking, who he's talking to. We need that context. We need to introduce that, right? So we add this in, and I let my essay reader know that while they're at the landing, Scout is forced to hang out with Frances. It's not a lot, but it's enough to know who is interacting, who's in the room. I don't bring up Jem. I could, right? Like he was there too, but he wasn't a part of this fight, so I cut Jem out. I didn't need to establish that Jem was there as well. This moment is about Scout and Frances, which speaks something about Atticus and Aunt Alexandra. So I just focused on those characters that were really important here. So while at the landing, here's where we are. Scout is forced to hang out with Frances. Okay, cool. So I know who's there, and I establish who's talking. Frances antagonizes Scout by saying, "It certainly does mortify the rest of the family." ... I cut out a few things again because I think the fact that it's mortifying the family is important. I think the language here is really, really important. And so I took this directly from the character. This first one, from the narrator, but I still put in quotes because it's directly from the text. Here, directly from a character, still in quotation marks, directly from the text. I've got my page numbers. And then once again, I focus on that R, the reasoning. Why did Harper Lee include this moment? Well, here's why. She included it because Frances is only a kid, but he clearly embraces the worldviews of his aunt. In this way, Harper Lee, boom, putting it on the author again, demonstrates the clash between Alexandra and Atticus through the kids. Frances, through Alexandra, represents the Old South, while Scout, through Atticus, represents a more progressive point of view. All of this becomes the reason for why Harper Lee included this particular moment. And so you'll notice Harper Lee is in my reasoning. Harper Lee is in my topic sentence. Sorry about that. Harper Lee is in my claim because this essay is about Harper Lee and her choices. So that's why the paragraph is highlighted in the way it is. You'll notice that blue is the dominant color because our reasoning should be the dominant color. If pink, the evidence, is dominant, that means we're probably summarizing. Same with if yellow's too much. That should just be little intro stuff, the most essential stuff we need to make sense of the evidence. If that's too long, it's probably summary. It's all about the blue. It's all about the reasoning. So with that in mind, your task this week is to start working on your body paragraphs. You're going to submit one of those to me so I can provide you some feedback on it. But ideally, you write two, maybe even all three of those, knowing that next week we're working on introductions and conclusions, and then we'll end with a little bit of online peer editing, and then eventually submitting these. That way I can give you some feedback and you can use that moving forward. Folks, I hope this video helped. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, shoot me an email, hop on office hours, whatever is most convenient to you. But I'm so excited to see what you come up with. Just make sure you put it on the author. Folks, have a great rest of your day, a great week, and hopefully I will see you soon. Take care.